This is not a regular aired show. Put that back up there, Cameron. We're going to surprise them. A regular aired show. We are not on KGRA this evening because Bill Forte has been abducted. Being that is, he's in New Mexico, so we couldn't get into the studio. So Ken, with his incredible experience, hacked into another StreamYard account, and we did this on the fly. But what a beautiful, beautiful thumbnail put up there. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. My name is George Lopez. With me is Mr. Ken DaCosta, and with us also Aaron Bush joining us tonight.
Hello.
How come our names aren't up there tonight? That's weird. Is that because I don't know why?
We are people who need no introduction.
Good God.
You speak for yourself. I don't know about me. I'll find a name tag or something.
Hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining us tonight. And Rob is there, and Android Paranormal, Melissa, Joseph. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Like, subscribe, and share, and make sure you guys do tell anybody that's still out there in the social media, Facebook, wherever you're at, that to come and hang out tonight, because participation night tonight, Unplugged.
Yeah.
Something that you guys as regular listeners have probably been privy to in the past on occasion, where Ken DaCosta and I simply say, hey, you guys can interview us. You can ask us questions about the paranormal, outside of the paranormal, whatever it is that comes to mind for you. We will put a little magic blue star next to your question and let them fill up throughout the night. And we hope to get through with all of that. And looking forward to tonight. And Aaron, thank you for joining us tonight. Also, how have you been?
I've been good. How have you been?
Well, we met each other this week.
We did. Finally. Yeah. It was a Christmas miracle.
Let me tell you, Cody and Satori had announced that they were heading down to Florida, and I finally asked them on the messenger, where you going? St. Augustine. I'm like, it's 30 minutes from my house. Hopefully we can meet. I said, okay. So I did. What day was that? I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. And we had a phenomenal opportunity to chat, to catch up. Where's that photo I put in there? Is this it right here? Yeah, there we go. Right in front of the St. Augustine Old Jail. And I had an opportunity as well, Ken, finally, to witness.
Slim? You went by Slim? Well, it's great to talk to you. We're going to be walking around, okay?
The tour guide's mouth was like, she looked at me, she's like, what's happening right now? Her mouth was on the floor. Like, and the thing people have to realize, thank you. Those walls are crazy thick concrete, and knocking was so loud. I haven't been in a place with them where concrete was involved. And it was loud. It was really, really loud. And the poor tour guide, her brain, I think, exploded right in the doorway, standing right there.
Yeah. And as did mine, because, we've talked about this, Ken and I, since, I want to say back in September, October, where he was starting to get his experiences that were mind-blowing to him. And I'm sitting there going, taking it with a grain of salt, because I'm not there. Yes, I've seen the videos. Yes, we've talked to the kids, but it does not do justice until you are physically with them. I mean, I'm sitting there going, well, what if Satori's got a double jointed hip and she can pop her hip in and out, and that's what we're hearing, or her knee, or her, I'm trying desperately to justify. And then I think the one that really nailed it for me, Aaron, was when we went up to the second floor of the St. Augustine Old Jail, and we were going into the parlor of his family's quarters. And as we get to the top of the stairs, both you and I go, whoa.
Whoa.
We walked into something that there was lightheadedness and there was heaviness at the same time. It was just really bizarre. So we walked next to Cody Satori and went, Slim, was that you we bumped into? Big old knock on the hardwood floor. I was like, well, we apologize for that. I'm sold.
And I walked into like 3 times. I'm so sorry. I can't see you. I'm so sorry. Like, because I kept getting like zapped. It was like, you know?
Yeah. I just don't know. And
Is that
yet,
your first time live doing that in person?
First time ever. And you do not know, Aaron, and I told Ken on this on the phone earlier today, it took every ounce of strength in my body not to turn it into, we're going to start trying all kinds of experiments right now in this jail. You know, I didn't have time. I had to get back home, take care of my dad. You guys had a full agenda set up for. I couldn't do it, and it was torture, absolute torture.
I can imagine. Yeah, you never want it to stop once they start. I mean, and that was a strong energy that was coming through. I mean, I just for the record, for those who don't know me, I hate that building with the passion of 1,000 fiery suns. Like, I went there probably 12 years ago. With my family before I knew I had abilities, and it was awful. And it's not because it's scary, but it's so overwhelmingly, devastatingly sad that as an empath, I can't. And I always said I'd never go back.
Yeah. It's one of those places as
it is. It's
penitentiaries as they will be, because there's a lot of residual traumatic, tragic, horrible energy attached to it.
A lot of suffering, but it's an incredible place. Well, St. Augustine is incredible in general. Oldest plotted city in America, 1565. It's got, Spanish history. It's got the Brits. It's everything you think. Of course, Native American, no question. But if any of you out there that either are deciding or thinking about traveling to Florida, put this on your agenda list, because it's just magical to see. It's stepping back in history.
It is.
Did you take the trolley tour with the kids that night? Did you hear the EVP?
I did. So I had to go back to the jail again. Hooray! And
Julie.
Hey, Julie.
Hey, Julie. It was fun. It was like the right amount of kitsch, because of course, because I didn't tell anybody they were coming down, right? I just tried to not, I didn't want them to have a vacation, right? So, but they were able to skate through, and then we were waiting. We were really early for the trolley or whatever, and people started kind of side eyeing, like, oh, who's that? So then, but it was pretty. They escaped relatively, unscathed, and it was the right amount of kitchen. I asked them after it was over, I'm like, you guys have done so many things. Like, what's your thought? They're like, we were really expecting it to be terrible. It wasn't, it's kitschy like it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
So
I would like to go back, and Julie just mentioned going back, and I will, because unfortunately, when I was there in St. Augustine, I had a phone call while we were on the trolley that my godfather had passed.
No.
While I was down here, someone I was very close to, who actually is responsible in a way for me getting into all of this stuff, because he had all the books and Fate magazines and UFO and Look and Life, and that's how I started getting into all of this stuff. So I'd like to go back and if for no other reason, it was just a remarkable place, and we love touring the place and doing an investigation here and there too. That was fun.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I have 45 minutes with you guys, and I wish I had more, Aaron.
Oh, I know. We packed a lot in those 2 days. I mean, we did the lighthouse, we did the beach, we did beach at night. The night they weren't ready to go to bed, which was great, because I'd had like 17 cups of coffee. So we went, down to the seawall. So we got dolphins jumping on the seawall while they were standing there at the fort. Like, it was perfect. Lighthouse, Fountain of Youth. Cody and Satori really wanted to do Ripley's. So that we ate. Yeah. And so we just, I just told them, whatever you guys want to do, We'll do.
They were in Ripley's. It's a good thing that Cody didn't have any cargo shorts on him because he'd be stuffing them full of things.
He did have lots of pockets on his shorts, but yeah.
Yeah. But
Hi, Ashley.
Now, I know that we have you and the kids scheduled tentatively to be here next week, so we could catch up a little bit more. I know they have their show on Thursday. Is that correct, Ken?
They are having their Welcome Back to Frosty New England show this coming Thursday on Dead Air. And next week we are we're having a rematch of Game Night, which we had a few months back, and Aaron will be on hand for that. And so we're having Paranormal Game Night with the Paranormal couple next Sunday here on Dead Air. We're going to give them a chance to recover a little bit. The last I heard was that they were in the Smoky Mountains, heading back, listening to episode after episode of Extremely Strange.
There you go.
Which I'm surprised did not put them to sleep, but they said, on the contrary, it kept them awake. So I'm not sure how to take that. One way or the other. Thanks, guys.
Maybe. And make sure, guys, you do check out all the Extremely Strange episodes here on Dead Air Full Spectrum, as well as the full spectrum of different shows and topics that we have on a weekly basis. Now, for those of you that are in chat, and I'm going to get to our topics tonight, but if you happen to go back to Facebook or whatever other social media, you've made friends through KGRA, and they're like, where the hell's the show tonight? Please direct them over here, give them the link. And again, it's only because Bill Forte is at the UFO Expo in Roswell, New Mexico this week. Well
deserved.
And if he's not abducted, he will be back with us next week. So we'll have to.
Hey, Jonathan, I'm going to be there too. Not for nothing, but no love. No love.
Yeah,
I feel like everybody's Uncle Ken, like.
You're an afterthought. You're an afterthought.
I am.
No, you just always know he's going to be like your go-to solid dude. He's going to be there.
Yeah.
Now, what we wanted to do tonight, guys, we've got these 2 hours to kind of just open up, as Aaron had done the thumbnail for us, as listed as Unplugged. It is, it's candid. We'll be more than happy to talk to you guys in regards to any topic within and outside of the paranormal. And so put those questions in the chat, direct it to either us, all three of us, or Ken or myself, whomever you would like to ask questions about, please feel free to do so. And I know there's one that's in there right now, but as we start this off or kick this off, Aaron, wondering whether or not you had any questions for Ken or myself. We've had time for dialogue on the show, but not really candid conversation. So, if there's something that comes to mind for you that you wanted to know about or bring up, or something of interest, we're an open book for you. So we'll leave that to chance, but we'll give you a second. I'm not going to put you on the spot. Let you think about it, because Ken has been kind enough to put together a few bloopers, a little tongue-in-cheek stuff, and maybe we'll spread it out throughout the show. You guys can see, again, it's not all doom and gloom, sitting on the concrete floor with a recorder, bored out of our minds. It can be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes scary, sometimes frightening. You can?
When you talk about the living being scarier than the dead, that does happen sometimes. And this is why we don't necessarily all wear our black T-shirts with our group name on it, because I think by now we know who we are and we don't have to identify ourselves. But we do have a good time, and because it's that kind of show tonight, that we're kind of turning it into an ad hoc thing. It's on you, it's on us, and it's good to do that every few months or so. But one thing that's prevalent in talking about Cody and Satori is music is said to soothe the savage beast, and it's an important part of what we do. Here's an example of that. about the implications about it too deep. All right. Hey, what's the matter with you? Feel right? Don't you feel right?
In the same bathroom.
Anyhow, 8 o'clock.
Hey, get it from the main line. Alright. Because you're fine and mine. Look so
There
divine.
used to be like bloopers of the main house that we keep forever.
That's
Brutal.
great.
Yeah, it's important
That's
to be
great.
melodic. With the say
David
the least.
Fritz, yeah, a little Redbone. It would kill you to play a little Redbone once in a while.
Yeah. Right. There was quite a bit of singing when they were here.
Oh yeah.
That's
I
the
mean,
kind of, I'm just learning if Cody's in the house, there's always going to be singing on some level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
fun-
Erin,
fun-
you have an announcement to make, I believe, backstage. You were telling me, just let everybody know.
Oh, Cody and Satori have arrived back in freezing cold New England safely and in one piece.
All right, cool.
No, I'm sure that they appreciated the incredible weather we provided for them during their stay, because it's been
It was great.
absolutely incredible today too. It's just
Yep.
incredible. I think we got
Exactly.
rain
Yep.
coming. But yeah, it's going to get cold
Wow.
though. It's going to get 40 something degrees,
Mm.
which is summer for New England, but we'll get there.
Right.
All right. So anyway, we've given you enough time there, Aaron. Are there certain questions you want to kick us off with? We got 2 questions from our audience already started up, but if you guys have anything that you would like to ask, please go ahead and put it in chat, and we'll make sure that we put it to the side. Okay.
Gladly, Jonathan. I want to know, because I don't think I've ever actually heard it, how you guys hooked up as investigating together and doing the show together. But if you've told it on the show already, you can tell me later. But that's one thing I don't think I know about you guys.
We have a difference of opinion about that. You tell your version first, George.
Of course, I think I got a question.
I don't remember.
Mm.
I know we were doing the old Dead Air on Blog Talk.
Yeah.
And my first thought is that it was through the connection with Andrea and getting the opportunity to head up for the Ocean State Paracon,
Uh-huh.
and then finally brought you on board. Maybe first time as a guest, but eventually we said, we wanted you to be part of the family. How's that?
Mhm. Okay, that actually happened. My version is that Andrea Perrin had written a book, came to Rhode Island to do book signings, stopped by the Payne House Museum, which everybody ad nauseum, we've spent like 11 years there now. Went downstairs. I played a clip for her that we recorded in the house in 2010, before the books, before we even met Andrea. She immediately identified it. And somehow or other, you invited myself and my son onto Dead Air, and there was a huge fight between 2 of your other guests that you had to mute people. And yeah. So my son and I are kind of backstage like, wow, we're going to see some shit here tonight. There's some stuff going on here. So, okay, we got through that show. And
Keep
then
in
we
mind, though, part of the argument, actually, all of the argument stemmed from your area of the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as we are wont to do here. So
They were fighting words, as we say in the South.
It was
good. It was getting nasty. So what had happened is we stayed in touch, and I had let you know that I had met Andrea Perrin. Oh, can you put me in touch with Andrea? I'd like to interview her. I said, yeah, I absolutely can, because I didn't really know you. I'm not sure. I'm not clear. It's a little fuzzy how I was even invited on the show. But then the rest is history after that. Because I put you in touch with Andrea, who I barely knew at the time.
Yeah.
But she was happy to do it because she was on the press junket. And I don't know, the rest all went downhill after that. And then the next thing is you're inviting me on once in a while to be a guest. Then it was the third co-host, and we folded the show because that's another story why. But God, here we are.
Speaking of which, though, before we continue on, and I got to step away for just 30 seconds, but explain to the audience what's going to be happening now, Ken, on our Friday nights.
Oh, let's get into that. I'll get into that with Erin
Yeah.
in the middle because she's
That's
pretty
big stuff.
short. A World Awakening, speaking of Andrea Perrin, her show is going to be simulcast here on the Paranormal Channel starting next Friday. And as a lead-in, it will be Jeff Turner and Soul School Sojourn. So this will be happening from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. right here on Dead Air Full Spectrum. So we're glad to have Andrea. She's never been out of the fold, but she'll be back here as family now with Cody, Satori,
Yay.
myself, George, Ron, Chris, Carl, Elise. So she's coming back home, so to speak. So we're
That's exciting.
We're very, very happy to bring her back to our audience. And and then, Secrets of the Craft with Melissa St. Hilaire, which is going to be a pre-recorded program from Los Angeles. So we get a time slot on that. That'll be happening in April. So I'll tell you what, there's a little something for everybody here.
The train is picking up speed, baby.
Yeah, the paranormal, ufology, legends, mythology, metaphysics, dead air, full spectrum. So, that's what's happening. So we're excited about that. And on behalf of Erin, we're sorry. We put out a video saying it was going to happen this past Friday, which I immediately took down because we're going to wait a week or so. But anyway, that's next.
Yeah.
I have a feeling somebody from Mikey or Cheryl or somebody is in Facebook right now. And as Facebook user, let StreamYard give them permission to see your name, because I saw Glenn Tavern in there somewhere. So
yeah.
I could try and catch it on my end. Let me turn my phone and see if I can pull it up on there.
But if and then from an investigative standpoint, I would imagine the first time Ken and I did co-investigating is at the Payne House.
Yeah,
and that I had a fantastic bunch of catches up on the second floor with the spirit box. That most of them are really, really creepy. I've played them on the show before. You
with
back.
Zaffis that night too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Was Andrea with you?
No, well, if
Sure.
I was there, she was probably there also.
Right.
But during that session, I was up on that floor by myself, and then the bulk of what we did collectively together, and it's somewhere on YouTube, is when we went out to Bathsheba's gravesite, and you and myself and John Zaffis and Andrea Perrin and Carl Johnson and the list goes on. There's just so many people that were there, just experiencing the craziest dialogue that was happening. It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Good segue into this year's event, Ocean State Paracon coming back to Harrisville.
Woo!
To the Assembly Theater, September 9th and 10th. And I believe the farmhouse is going to be involved in this.
Dun, dun,
I hope
dun. Well, I tell you what, that was a great starting question for us, Erin. And we'll definitely, if you have more, jot them down, hold on to them. Let's get to a couple of them that are in the chat here.
Ask us questions now before we get any older, because we just, back in my day.
All right, you start this one. I didn't. What's the name of the place there again? I forgot.
We're right out of the. This is St. Augustine. Jonathan's referring to. This is back in the St. Augustine. What's the name of the place? Well, I don't know. What's the famous place? The lighthouse.
The
fort.
The lighthouse. So
old jail. The fort.
The lighthouse. The old jail. The fort. Castillo de San Marcos. Those are the three big daddies there.
Huguenot Cemetery, Talamato Cemetery, which you believe there's a ley line in that area too, right?
Man, we used to live over there, and I would hear at night, and I would tell my husband he couldn't hear it. I would hear like humming in the ground, but there's no. It's still the historical district, so you don't have power stations. You're right by the water, like it's not. And I would hear it every single night, and I started thinking about it later, and there's like 4 or 5 spots that are pretty spooky that energetically are pretty overwhelming, and I've just always wondered if there's one there. Never really looked though.
I think it's really cool that all 3 of us have been there now that Ken's been able to take that trip down. And just like Julie was saying, to get a chance to go back there again. So that's awesome.
I'll play tour guide. I would love it.
All right. Another question. Here we go. What is it like working with Cody and Satori compared to your old way of investigating, Ken?
And by the way, Eli Estrada, I loved you on Chips, by the way. You guys were
Ellie.
What is it like working with Cody compared to our old way? Okay, let's set the record straight. First of all, the old way still exists. What we do is in conjunction with each other. Because the old way was always documenting, it was recording environmental readings, getting things on video, getting photographs, recording voices, and all of those things happen. And they still happen, which is why we have so much video of the couple together. But a lot of times what you don't see are like EVPs that we pick up while they're doing their things, or maybe meters going off, affecting the environment, because of course we're focusing on what they're doing. But Julie DeMay, who is hanging out here tonight, I mean, she's got 6 to 8 cameras going at once all the time, focusing on that. So it's kind of in conjunction to what they're doing, because the thing that they're bringing us is emotional content. Because it's one thing to get names, dates, research can give you that, but to have a conversation, we get to understand how people are thinking and what they're feeling, and actually have those conversations where they're asking us questions about our environment, like, what's that thing? Or what is this thing? Or do you know what this is? No, I don't. What color was your room? What did you see back then? Where were you hanging out? What did the house look like? So, I mean, it's a nice, if you want to call it the old version, that's fine. I think standard investigating, because there's a lot of things don't even come out of the bag anymore because I don't believe in them that we used. So it's just a matter of combining both the things, the spiritual, the metaphysical, the technological. So, and I've known them both for years before I found out that they were doing this thing. But it's a real pleasure to do it. And above all, they're just great people. So, we get a lot more information, which at the end of the day is what we're looking for. So it's a good question, though. I like the opportunity to kind of explain what's going on.
Little throw out to you, Aaron. Maybe you recognize this also from Morgan. I'm one of the people that recognized Satori and Cody at the Ghost and Gravestone gift shop in St. Augustine and asked for a photo. It was so cool
Morgan.
to meet them. I found this channel through their page.
Cool.
Well, good. The advertising energy of Cody and Satori is working for the page, which is wonderful. Thank you, Morgan, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Hit that subscribe button.
Morgan. Come back.
Now you can come and see all the different events and all the different shows that we have here on Dead Air Full Spectrum.
Absolutely.
And now they got a chance then to see what I was talking about, the new visitor center waiting room with all the haunted items there. How cool is that?
It's really cool. It's funny because I just went to walk right in it, and they're like, no, this is part of the tour. I'm like, oh. So it's they put a lot of effort into it. They have a lot of pretty cool stuff there. And so, yeah, they got to experience like the whole gamut, which of course being them with their museum, there's pictures and note taking, Cody's looking at this, looking at that. But I was going to say to that last question too, like to your point, Ken, talking about the information that you're getting, we were discussing it when they were here. I said, you're basically offering living history.
Yeah.
Like it's information that most people aren't getting otherwise. It's like, when you guys were at the Pain House, I mean, it was walking through Sarah Whipple's kitchen and getting what was her favorite holiday and what did she like to serve. It's literally like having a history lesson
getting a menu of what was on for Christmas dinner and things like that.
It's just a different way of getting more information. It's incredible.
I will say, thank God, Aaron, that you were there to be the tour guide and your hospitality, because if you weren't and Cody's story said, hey, can we crash at your place? They would have not had any sleep. I have hardwood floors, and I would have put them to task every friggin' second. I wouldn't have been, gee whiz, you guys are really living history. I'm like, do it now. This is what I want to see. I would have driven them crazy. I would have gotten a call from Ken going, we can't be friends anymore. That's all there is to it. I'd have pushed
I look at it like it's I had to look at it from a tourist perspective, because I said to him, I said, I'm going to put a list together of different things you guys can look up before you come down, but I'll leave off the haunted stuff. Like if you don't, which is hard to do with St. Augustine, but like we can avoid the, and they're like, no, we want the haunted stuff too. I said, okay. But I just didn't want to, I didn't know they were going to do it at the jail and color me surprised. So I was super excited because I want to see it all the time too.
Yeah.
Like, give me a streaming channel. I would pay lots of money to watch that happen all the time.
God. It's called Discovery Plus.
Right.
They're going to own that in another year.
I think, right.
You guys are rolling in chat, by the way. We'll get to that. I love it. Like I said, we got some.
We're marking them. We're definitely marking them.
Funny, silly clips to play, but we're gonna take the night off and give it to you guys.
But and I wanted, since Morgan was there in the chat, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Dave Chatterton, to Heather, to all the wonderful people who work around Ghosts and Gravestone Tours and the St. Augustine Old Jail, consummate professionals, and just absolutely opened up the doors for Cody, Satori, Aaron, and myself. So thank you guys so much. Always appreciate it. And they gave a nice invitation back saying, hey, anytime Ghost Hunters wants to film here, they have the open opportunity. And I said, okay, we'll get there. Okay.
And I'm like, who needs somebody to go get the extra batteries and coffees when they're in town?
Exactly.
Be available.
Well, all the good spots. We
do.
Joe Frezzo, we're going to play more bloopers, by the way. Okay.
Yes, we will.
We'll get to it, Joe. We're coming.
Well, we're saving a bit of that too, because we only have Aaron till about 10 o'clock, another half hour or so.
No, I'm good for the whole thing.
Oh, you are good? Oh, fantastic.
Yep, I am good.
Daylight saving. Have you changed your clocks, George?
I swear. It came on this morning. I called Ken. I'm like, when did this happen? I heard no announcement.
Well, you just said a half hour is 10 o'clock. I thought it was like like in a time slip there somewhere. It's like, wow.
Like ludicrous speed and
missing time. I'm going to check for implants here or something.
We started the show. The sun was still out. I couldn't believe that. I haven't seen that yet in a while. So, Anyway, I hope you guys all did. If you haven't moved your clock forward.
I'm going to disappear for a second here. Be right back.
Yeah. If you haven't moved your clock forward yet, you're just arriving at the show right now, too, or you got in an hour earlier. So in any event.
Or you think it starts in 27 minutes.
Yeah. But any questions, Aaron, that you might have? I know there's a question specifically for me in there also, but anything that you have?
Man, it's so funny because I've been watching you guys now. Like, I know most of your favorite places or your least favorite places. Aside from Curse City, what's the most profound investigation you had where it changed your perspective on, like, was there one pivotal moment at an investigation that was like the game changer for you?
There was. I've told this story before and probably will tell it again because it was profound, and that was at the Rolling Hills Asylum in East Bethany, New York. Quick story background: years and years and years and years ago, we were just petitioning for places to go to. One of them I told you about was the St. Augustine Old Jail, and they connected with us and said, "Yeah, you guys want to come investigate for free?" We went,
nice.
Yeah.
Keyword. Bingo.
And got in there and caught some fantastic evidence that, as you heard, they've been playing on the trolley tour for 12 years now, the EVP.
Yep.
It's amazing. And
as it gets.
Through that, all of a sudden, we're petitioning for other locations, and one of them was Rolling Hills Asylum. one of my team members at the time, Jeff Soden, was able to make the dialogue happen, opening it up. Sharon Coyle came back and said, I just bought the place. You'll be the first team in. Yes. For free.
Nice.
So
Yahtzee.
we're in. So fast forward to that experience, we went there. It was probably 19 degrees, freezing cold. There was probably 11 of us, I think, that went to investigate, drove all the way up, which is a hell of a long drive. The same
bet.
trip we did Houghton Mansion in North Adams, Massachusetts. But we went there the first time and only got some knocks. I was exhausted. Went back on the second trip, and on the second trip, it was an event happening, so it was a bunch of people there. But at the end of the last night, it was a Sunday night, there's about 7 of us still in one of the hallways, just hanging out, trying to communicate, trying to get evidence. Everybody's huddled around a desk. I'm sitting in a trigger object wheelchair, looking all the way down the hall. And as I'm looking down the hall, out of one of the rooms, slick like black oil, this figure is crawling out on its arms.
Nope.
And it gets about just below the thorax. And I still had a recording somewhere. And you got to be kidding me. And I hop out of the chair and I run towards it, and it literally shimmies back into the room. I get into the room.
Wow.
Got my flashlight. I'm looking around the room. I see nothing. Then I'm starting to wonder, because right next to it was the staircase. Did it come? You start second guessing everything. Did it come out of the staircase?
Yeah.
Was there somebody in the building that shouldn't be here, and they were sneaking?
Right.
I'm going up and down the stairs. You don't hear any doors closed, nothing, no footsteps. In hindsight, later, much, much later, I sat there and went, the one thing I didn't do, because these are called shadow crawlers, is when I went into the room with the gurney, the bed, and the wheel, everything that was in that room set up theatrically, I never looked at the ceiling. And I wonder whether or not that's where I would have caught something. But it was the first time I saw anything that was that physical in that sense.
Yeah.
Got a creeper.
And it certainly was a profound experience for me in the field, to say the least. Absolutely amazing.
That would end my paranormal career. I'd be like,
Oh, no.
This has been fun. Crawlers. Nope. Absolutely not. St. Augustine Jail has one. No thanks. What's yours, Ken? Huh?
I said that's the one thing that I can honestly say about investigating. When I have these kind of experiences, it drives me more. It drives me more. I actually get giddy, which is weird, but I do get giddy when I have these experiences. So
yeah,
and you can.
It's all the downtime, all the time you spend in just patiently waiting and waiting. So when you have something, even if it's a little creepy, you may have to step away from it for a second, but once you process it, it's just kind of like, yeah, that was cool. There's something wrong with us.
Like the whistling at the theater that you went to.
Yeah, there's something wrong with us. But hey, listen, that's what, I'm here for it. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
What was yours then, Ken? What was your pivotal game changer? Because we've obviously talked at length about all kinds of investigations, but did you have one that, you've been doing this for so long too? Was there one that would cause a pivotal change in your opinion on either consciousness or perspective of your own, or
experience I had as a kid at 13, I wasn't investigating, but as an investigator, probably seeing what turned out to be little Clara Stone, 4 years old, crossing a hallway in front of me at Payne House. Not acknowledging me in any way, but just seeing that shadow go across a hallway. Fast forward about 6 years later, when Cody and Satori come in and we start to learn a little bit more about the family, because up to that point, everybody was calling this little child spirit Sarah, and she responded to it. Similar at the Conjuring house with Oliver, whose actual name is
Oliver,
Henry,
yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
she responded, but then we found out, hey, the little girl, her name is Clara, her mother is Sarah. So again, we were able to dispel or put away some type of assumptions that people have and get down to brass tacks on that as far as who are these people.
Yeah.
But that was that was profound to me, because not only was it a profound experience, but then it led to more information. So it all kind of
Sure.
tied together over, it took 6 years to get to it, but somehow that's just how it is sometimes. This is why
That's
you visit a
awesome.
place 6, 8, 20,
Yeah.
50 times, to
Yeah.
do an actual case study about the place. And, so
Yeah.
that to me was something that was really enlightening.
Yeah. And that's one of the difficult things about, Aaron, these haunted famous locations where they have tours and you have bookings for you can't get into them on a regular basis. Unless
No.
you're infinitely wealthy and you just,
Right.
you put
Yeah.
money aside for the year of going. Conjuring House is one of those places. Conjuring House you can get in on occasion,
Right.
some more than others. But you have, some people who travel from the West Coast to the East Coast to come investigate that place.
Oh yeah.
That may be their only times. They've never really developed a compounding of dialogue or evidence at that location. They've got a few hours in one night to do it all. It's frustrating.
Yeah. It's a good point though. It's true.
Yep.
It's very true.
Okay, we want to go back to the questions, or unless there's something else, Aaron, before we go to the next one you want to ask?
Well, let's do chat. I'll marinate and see what else I come up with, but I would imagine chat's going to come up with some pretty good stuff. I would think.
All right.
We usually
This one, Andrew Paranormal wants to know, George, what was one of the experiments you wanted to do the most with Cody and Satori's abilities? I've had countless phone calls with Ken with my ideas, and they're nonstop. There's always something going on. But one of the things that still sits in my mind now, I understand that they do tests, and Ken's filmed them. Can you move this paper? Can you do this? Can you do that? And they've gotten phenomenal responses, including with some of the electronic equipment. And I used this metaphor before, where in certain movies, such as the one, and I'm drawing a blank right now. Of course, I am now, with Jodie Foster in the space travel. Ken, hit me with it. Contact. And they were downloaded the schematics to build a spaceship, a way of traveling. And I would really love to consistently work with Cody and Satori and saying, is there an alternative means of communication that they can have us design, or a methodology similar to what Cody and Satori are doing that anyone can perform? Or is it just those two are blessed, those two, their connection has that specific synergy that makes this happen, and it's just not something to be replicated, and there's no other way to communicate with them? That's my number one thing that I keep on drawing back to, unless there's something else I'm missing, Ken.
No, I mean, it's a kind of thing where we take baby steps on it. And we have the good fortune to spend a lot of time with them. So we've never felt like there's a rush on anything. And they're here for it. They're enthusiastic. Whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it. But we try to do it incrementally, because when we're in a location, spending time with them, we're trying to gather information. That's first and foremost. That's why we're there, to learn something about who might be there, why they're there, a little bit about their past. So the idea where we're doing experiments is balanced out with the goal we have of being in a particular location. So we try to concentrate on that first, and then we might say, hey, let's ask, and we try to include the spirit energy in on the experiment. Let's see if you can move this piece of paper. Let's see if you can speak to us while they do this through a recorder. So yeah, we just like to, corroborate those things and put them all together, but incrementally. We've done things like let's stand in the middle, let's hold their hands, let's let them do it to one of us, and on all those things that typically you'd want to do immediately, to see if it's transferable. It's not. Spoiler alert. But we just take it in terms of, hey, this time out, let's try a little something different or something like that, but never lose sight of why we're in this particular location to begin with. So it's a process.
Let me argue on your side as I argue my side, Ken, and it makes absolute sense. When we were growing up, if you wanted to do some research or get for information, whatever it was, you had to go to the library, and the library had hours of operation, open to close. So you had to wait till the next day. We are in an era now where information is available to us 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And my mentality is not stepping back to where the spirits probably lived, which was at a slower pace. And I want it like this. And that's the importance of a Ken DaCosta being able to be that wall. Because I'm sitting there going, okay, well, yes, I understand that, you're helping. But how many spirits, when Cody and Satori start this, do we hear the moving around and then they say step back, we just want one? Well, if we had multiple people or multiple techniques to communicate with multiple spirits, wouldn't that be better? But again, that's the current mass information processing mentality that we all live in, instead of stepping back. This time it's your turn, this time it's your turn. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we all feel the same way. This is something that's relatively new to them. Because they're in a relatively new relationship. I mean, and they're not here, for us to speak for them. So I feel kind of a little awkward with that. But I guess they've been together for, 4 years or so. And, I'm not sure that they understand how or why any more than we do. I think it found them more than it found us, just based on the type of people they are and the receptors that they put out there.
Watch me make Aaron smile right now. Ken, 4 years they've been together in this life.
Oh God.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Chris Fleming, wasn't it Chris Fleming that was convinced they were brother and sister in another life?
Yes.
But it's not impossible, but that's a whole other rabbit hole. But that's not impossible. It's not. But I think it's unique to them, but I do think what's interesting, because I've learned, because I love pendulums, right? I don't work with them a ton, but like a lot of times I'll use it to validate or get more information. So I'll take the alphabet and use it with my pendulum. So I find that it's I think you're going to be very hard pressed to be able to teach this to people. It's an energetic connection that's so old and so advanced that I think that it's interesting that this is coming out now, given the society and the world that we're living in and the chaos and the amount of beauty that it brings. But I think it's like a once in a lifetime deal. Like, I don't think you can teach this to people. Yeah. I think you can take parts of it and apply it to what you do, but it's something energetically, because I can see it, what it looks like.
The thing I get a kick out of, Erin, really is with all the new gadgetry that people are inventing, and technology goes forward. And we live in an age of technology, so why would it not be introduced to the paranormal? It's introduced in every facet of our life. And people are trying to invent new motherboards and new things, and, in terms of contact or, some type of confirmation of the afterlife. Yeah. And the most amazing thing I'm seeing are two people that it's knocking on the floor. The most basic of all things, spiritually, Right there it is. So
Yeah, and you can't box it and put a label on it and put a
Organic.
price. So you can't do it.
Nope.
And that's the frustrating part,
I mean,
you know. But I would love, you know, one of the things, Aaron, again, you had them as house guests. And at one point, if they were my house guests, I would have said, Cody Satori, I would like you to ask the spirits if just temporarily they could empower me. You guys sit down and I'm going to try to get them to knock on the floor while I'm talking to them. Can you do that? It's going to be a yes or it's going to be a no. If it's a yes, we don't know.
Well, and I have a portal in my laundry room, so it would have been ideal. But we, you know, I guess for me, I'm so in awe of what they do. And I think too, I'm also trying to navigate my own stuff, as you saw firsthand at the jail. So it's a lot of, I'm still in learning mode very much. So, you know, I love to absorb. That's why I love being able to do these shows and know these people, because I have such great friends and I can ask all these burning questions I've wanted to know for, you know, years and years and years. So for me, I always look at it as an opportunity to get to know them outside of what they do. Right. Like they both were obsessed with the fact that there's lizards running all over Florida. You know, like that's just not a thing you have in New England. They're like, there's lizards everywhere. But I also didn't want to put them in that position. And I told my house spirits that, you know, we had friends coming, but to please be polite. They're on vacation. And if they decide they would like to try their thing here, then they can do it. But until then, please, let's just be quiet in the house. Yeah. And they did. Nope. Nothing.
I mean, they often come to my house for dinner, and we have dinner and German chocolate cake, and we unbox some new items for the museum, and that's pretty much how we spend our night. Because to be honest with you, I like to get away from it too.
Yeah.
You know, the things that I have been involved in my life long before this, or concurrent with this, you know, I just refuse to let this like define who I am. I like other things too. You know, I'm not that obsessed with the paranormal that, you know, I think the best way to go about being involved is to be able to step away from it. And that's true whether you have psychic ability, you know, to be able to turn it off and, you know, not now, I'm doing something, you know. So it's good to be a well-rounded person and not be too obsessed about anything.
I'm obsessed about this.
I'm obsessed. But in all fairness, I get it. My metaphysical side of it.
Yeah,
I get it.
This has got a shelf life. Potentially has a shelf life, and that is terrifying to me because the efficacy is monumental. There's nothing like that in the field that could have that type of accuracy time in and out. There's no comparative procedure, pieces of equipment, location, investigator, psychic medium that touches what it is that they're doing. So yeah, I'm obsessed without question because God forbid this goes away, and not necessarily because they break up or God forbid just one day it stops. No. What opportunities have we missed? That's what bothers the hell out of me. But can you say that with absolute certainty, though, Aaron?
I mean, no. But from an energetic standpoint, it doesn't make sense. It goes against the law of the universe,
right?
Because you got to look at it this way: anybody who's a sensitive, and I know they don't like to call it, you know, psychic abilities, but anybody who's energetically inclined or a little more finely tuned, right? The more you tap into that, it's almost like it's a duty, right? That we have, and I look at it as it's you have a duty to spirit more so than humans, right? But we have a duty to use them to help people in whatever capacity that looks like. And all of us are different, right? And I know you're going to get there.
That's all I'm asking.
That's to your point. But on the flip side of that, there's also an energetic cost to all this stuff too. Like if we could, you know, clone them or something, but it's exhausting for anyone who's tapping in like that.
Open that door for me, Aaron. I'm coming through. You know, but
Cody and Satori, you're home now. If you're listening, run.
Yes. Oh, by the way, Cody and Satori, so glad you finally got to meet our miniature dinosaurs here in Florida. That's the important part. God, the iguanas would have freaked them out. Anyway,
They did ask
question.
about the falling iguanas.
Did they?
I said, yeah, that's the thing. More South Florida, but it does happen on occasion here, yes.
Aaron, we have a question for you from
Rio.
chat. If you're comfortable sharing, how has your spiritual and physical health changed after quitting a job that was draining you a couple of years ago?
There probably aren't enough words or time, but I think it took me about a year to reset I kind of had to reset my whole central nervous system because I was still operating under fire. Everything's on fire mode. I sleep better. I lost weight. I am way happier. I mean, how the hell I'm still sitting on this little box right here with you guys is still like blows my mind. I don't know how I ended up here, but I think it's a testament to where you stop doing something that you thought you'd be doing forever because you hated it, even though it was something you were expected to keep doing by society. And you just say, and just throw it to the universe, see what sticks or see where you end up. I think that's pretty magical. So I have had nothing but great things since I was able to get out of that, for sure.
We're good here. We're
better
here
on all levels.
We're here for a good time, not a long time. So
right. Yeah.
Now, again, for those of you that are joining us, obviously you've already figured out we are not broadcasting or simulcasting on KGRA because our producer, Bill Forte, is in Roswell, New Mexico for the UFO Expo. He'll come back next week, or at least the clone of Bill Forte will be back next week. Depends on whether or not the mothership gets closer. Have to wait and see. But we don't go to the commercial that we would normally go to, but we do have one commercial that we'd love to bring up. And Ken, if you want to at least talk it up for a second, Melissa's new show, when is it coming about?
It's going to come about in April. Right now, she has 6 episodes that she has filmed, and she is in an editing process right now. But if you don't mind, along with us, let's take a quick look at what's ahead.
Are witches real? Could you live next door to one? Do they have supernatural powers? Can anyone be a witch? My name is Melissa St. Hilaire, and I'm a professional witch. Join me as I introduce you to my fellow practitioners when we ask them to reveal their secrets of the craft.
Okay, so coming in April.
Yeah. Now, I bet 12 people got up to go get some more coffee because usually it's about a 3-minute break. So we'll just put this up and not talk for the next 3 minutes. No, we'll come back over here. That's fine. We can do that. But thank you guys again for joining us. And if you're coming over from the KGRA side, it's important that you hit the subscribe button and the reminder bell and the thumbs up, because when these situations come about, you certainly don't want to miss one of the shows. And we got some great, exciting stuff that's coming up as well. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Let's hit another one here. It looks like David Fritz brought something up. Is it wise to say you're talking to deceased spirits when honestly there's no proof of that? Ken, go ahead. That's one of yours.
All right, here's the deal, Dave. I know Dave. Dave's a good guy. Dave asked good questions. So here's what it is. I can speak from only what I experienced personally. And one time in the company of these people, my mom came through, spelled out her name, which was Odelia, very unusual name, not for the Portuguese, and then told me, say that she loved my sisters, Terry and Eileen. And you get all of that stuff. And then she said, also spelled out through their method, watch Danny in the hospital, which is something I hadn't told anybody because my oldest son took a fall on some stairs and seriously hurt himself. Some bleeding on the brain. He's fine, but he spent some time, obviously, in the hospital and had to relearn a couple of things. And, he's doing great, But this is not something that I shared with anybody. So I can speak that I believe that it was because of the information that was coming through. And I totally understand this other thing where it could be you don't know who it is. It could be someone trying to trick you. and all the rest of this. And to be honest with you, I think that's often used to fortify someone else's point of view, whether they're into
Yes.
demonology, whether they're into what everything. I think that, and I'm not saying it's not possible, but I prefer to look at something that's right before me and have it proven to me that it's not what I believe it is. Just as I'm looking for proof that the afterlife exists and that spirits exist and they're around us and they're willing to talk to us. Once I get that proof from a personal perspective, then we can get into, well, it might be a trickster. Okay, it has to display that it's a trickster. So I know I don't think you're going there with it, David, but it's something I just wanted to say because I've heard that in terms of what these two kids are going through. How do they know it could be a trickster? And there's a little bit of me, and this might be myopic in a way, there's a little bit of me that says, oh, stop. Stop trying to find the thing out there, the contrarian sort of
Sensationalism.
attitude, because it's just like I believe in being skeptical, but skeptics bug me because they will go to just as many extremes to disprove something as a true believer will believe anything's possible. A skeptic will believe nothing's possible.
Right.
And they will go to extreme explanations to just sort of put it away. So I'm kind of like, I'm that guy who sits at the table, says, ghosts are real, fight me, prove me wrong.
Right, change my mind.
No.
Right.
Aaron, you want to weigh in on this?
I feel the same way. I mean, I mean, as a sensitive myself who gets information that makes absolutely zero sense for people I barely know, I do think that's what you're tapping into. Because I think if people started looking at it from a frequency point of view, right? Like, it's like we're souls in a human body, not the other way around, right? So we die, ditch the meat suit, go back to where universe, wherever you think you came from. But I've also been in a situation with Cody and Satori where we were at an event, but we weren't doing anything at the event. So, and a person that they had never met before was in the room and they weren't even touching and the knocking starts happening. And the things that came through, odd nicknames that you couldn't have possibly guessed, and for people we were just discussing, like Ken said, heard you discussing so-and-so. I mean, it was like 4 huge clear bits of information from someone they had never even met who they wouldn't have known their family. How else would you get that information? And I think you feel, I mean, everybody can read a room, right? You know exactly what the vibe is of a place when you walk in most of the time, I'm going to guess. And I would, maybe not always, but I would like to think that you would kind of have you're not going to get the warm fuzzies from a trickster, I wouldn't think, So I'm like Ken, I'd rather lead with, I'm the same person. I sit right next to Ken. I believe in ghosts, fight me, But I think if you shift it to an energetic form, because that's really what we're dealing with is frequency on all of these levels, it can be a little easier to navigate, I think. But nobody talks about energy that way.
Yeah.
No.
Much anyway.
David, I can't argue the point with you. I'm one to just say I don't know. I don't know whether or not it's energies of the dead or something completely different. I don't know whether or not if the deceiving evil entities out there can't give us warm fuzzies. I don't know whether or not it's possible. I don't know whether or not they all are. There was a convention I went to many, many, many years ago. It was at the Stanley Hotel, and Adam Bly, a demonologist, was in front of 300 plus people and said, "You all shouldn't be doing this. You all shouldn't be paranormal investigating because everything is a trickster and everything is demonic." And of course, me with my mouth, I went to the organizers and said, "What the hell did I pay all this money for to have a guy tell me I shouldn't be paying money to go do this. It's killing you. It's not, you already got my money, but it's going to hurt you. But this is, again, it's all with what the agenda is of the investigator or the team.
Has Adam Bly ever written a book?
Oh, I'm sure he has.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
he's written a book out there you can purchase, right? Okay.
And it'll explain everything as to why what you're doing is wrong. So, I don't know. I don't know. But I will tell you one thing that I've said, that Ken said, anybody in the paranormal field who is worth their salt has told other investigators or their team members there's risk involved in this. And if you don't want the risk, don't get involved. It may not have anything to do with spiritual. It could just simply be because we're going into these dark buildings with, creaky floors and dangerous staircases. And, who knows, asbestos, who knows what you're coming across.
In the dark. No big deal.
In the dark.
Don't step into the batter's box if you're afraid of getting hit by the pitch.
And they're fast and they're often. So, again, that's the idea of what it is that we do. Listen, when it comes to the point in time that we know our field's done,
right. What are we going to do?
So this is still discovery. It's absolutely still discovery. Right. So I kind of want to get into these other questions. We've got 7 of them now. But I was talking the other day actually with Andrea Perrin, and she loves the ufology stuff. And I said, well, listen, isn't it interesting that, we've now discovered that our solar system is flying through space, and we're being dragged along by our sun while we circle the sun, or at least semi-circle the sun. It goes in different angles and all that. But I said, what if, because you think about it, how much time has passed that man has really had knowledge of all of this? It's nothing. It's a fraction of a second. So in time, will we discover that every one of these planets is there for a reason for us to use as resources? And we've just not even touched upon that yet. We haven't touched upon the resources we have here on our planet. But, if we still survive what's going to be happening here in the future with rising water levels and such, but those who will still be around, hopefully at one point in time, will be wise enough to discover that yes, there's so much that we can do with this. I think the paranormal field is in that we haven't even discovered the depths of our own oceans, much less the universe. But I think the potential is going to be there. I think we'll discover it once we get past this infancy in the field, to say the least.
Yeah, we're going along the better way.
Yep. Ken, you want to read the next question?
I don't know if I want to read the next question yet or go to another blooper.
Yeah, let's hit a blooper. Let's lighten it up a little bit.
Okay. When you do public investigations, sometimes you guests do crazy things. Here's an example of that. And if you're going to get a drink, now's the time to do it. We'll take a couple of minutes here.
I invite anybody that's up here that would like to make contact, maybe touch me, maybe you want to tell me something, send a message, help me with my grammar. Slight stutter sometimes I get when I'm cold.
Is there someone in the clothing room with us?
That will happen all night, I guarantee you.
Okay, I need a new pair of shorts.
Are you hiding in the pantry?
Oh, I miss the Wonder Years.
We got such a kick out. Hey, you never know what the magic question is. Are you hiding in the pantry? And that was Wendy Thatcher turning to Julie and just going. And by the way, I do not advocate ever touching someone on the shoulder like that. Okay. I mean, it was hysterical, but don't do it in a dark room and that was her mom who did that. I mean, if that poor girl had fallen off the chair or something,
it's potentially there.
Oh my God. Don't do that.
I punched somebody. George saw my jump scare disability, for lack of a better phrase. I mean, it doesn't take much. And I'm like, that. So I'm the one who would accidentally like throw an elbow at somebody and be like, I'm so sorry. I told you not to do that.
But
okay, to Joe Fresia, we'll squeeze a couple more bloopers in there, but we'll get back to questions right now. Let's go. Okay, Conjuring House question. This is from Melissa. Just an opinion from you each. Do you think Cody and Satori got Abigail's on date of death because they were at the farmhouse? Can other mediums make contact with really old ancestors?
Ooh.
Okay, so here's what I think. Because I've seen it, they don't necessarily have to been in the location that was native to that person.
Correct.
And I've told the story about the Shining Hotel or in Estes Park, where a woman came through at a location we were at in Massachusetts to set the record straight on something. And it took a little while for it to register, like who is this woman talking to us? But she was a housekeeper at the Stanley Hotel. So I don't think it necessarily has to be in that environment for them to contact someone, because obviously my mom, who came through, had no knowledge of the Payne House Museum that day she came through, and other people who are in our group. Just about everybody who's been around has had a relative come through in places that were not even known to them at the time. When that beacon goes up, it's a matter of, I think, a familiarity they've gotten now. It's like, oh, the kids are touching hands again. Let's go to the light. And this is why you get the stomping and everybody crowding around. Second part of that question, can other mediums make contact? It's been said they can, and I've been in the company of some who did some pretty remarkable things. I've been in the company of some that it's a little spotty sometimes, but I think that's just the nature of the beast. But, what do you guys think? That's kind of what I feel about that.
Aaron?
I absolutely think it does not matter where they are. But I always look at it as if we operate on the pretense that there is a collective consciousness that affects everything, all energy everywhere, then it would, to me, make sense that they're not bound by space or time, and that they're able to pop in anywhere. I mean, I've seen that myself. I've had experiences where I'm getting information for somebody and neither one of them are in the place we're standing. Right. But I think I always say that, you almost kind of glow different. You say it's like throwing out the bat signal, I guess, in Cody and Satori's case, but it's like, oh, somebody's here that can understand us. Let's go that way. So I don't know if it's like the world's black and white and we come across tie-dye or whatever, but it's almost like there's they see it differently when you have a sensitive in the area. So I don't think it affects where you are. And like, Ken, that's happened to you several times. That just happened to you at the Alley Theater too.
Yeah.
With the thought reading. So
yeah,
they're exactly. That energy is ever present.
Yeah. It's, but I'm not saying that, Steve Huff can take his spirit box out to his shed and contact Queen Elizabeth either.
Right.
Okay. There's something like a little bit more than voices that can, the confirmation bias that you get where I think I heard that word and I'm getting a result that I'm looking for. You know, this is
Right.
all just completely organic and random stuff, and there's a discernible difference between those two things.
Yeah.
Well, it's up
Perfect.
to spirit too, if they're going to tap
Yeah.
in.
Well, perfect title is another movie title, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I think that really kind of sums it up. You know, we had last week we had Melissa, and we actually did an extended video with Melissa St. Hilaire and Cheryl Plum and Mikey and Natasha and Tim, and they had done a crossover, and they said, you know, we really don't know if that truly happened. It felt like it did. We heard a whoosh. We caught it on audio, but you know, what is to say that a Cody and Satori in Rhode Island don't do a contact with that spirit to say, did you cross over? It's that quick now, as Ken was explaining, at the speed of a thought, his thoughts were read and the spirit appeared. I mean, it's that quick of a communication.
Instant.
Right.
So, you know, who's to say now, you know, mind you, if everybody out there really believed in this, didn't want to go in for the scare factor of these locations, but truly believe that what is occurring right now in the field can be possible with anyone, can run an EVP session, you know, if they want to use different devices, wherever they may go to and say, I'm trying to reach the maid from the Stanley Hotel. Can you come and, you know, have a dialogue with us right now? If once that gets out, and if it's possible, these other huge locations are going to go out of business because they don't have to spend the money to go into these locations. Spirits can show up anywhere.
Right.
But again, all of it is supposition at this point in time. We're trying to get to that next level, but it's not going to be overnight.
Right. Okay.
Next question's pretty darn quick. I'll answer from my side if you guys have something to add to it. Talking about the shadow creeper. But Podsack said, has anything like that before left handprints, scuff, drag marks, etc. when it's crawling out? Here's the thing about it. I am sure people have used talcum powder. People have actually seen handprints on walls. I'm sure that these kind of things do wind up leaving some sort of a residual evidence. But again, most of the places that you would go to and you hear the claims of events that have taken, you'll set up your equipment in those particular locations. This was not a scenario when this shadow creeper came out that anyone was expecting. We were all blown away. And if that was a commonplace thing, and it may have been past that point in time that Sharon described that at Rolling Hills Asylum as being the spot. Other people have set up equipment there or put down talcum powder. But, you know, trying to predict when an event is going to take place, that's one of the things from a scientific standpoint we're still trying to decipher, especially when it comes to residual. That would be the easiest route to go, but none of that has been accomplished yet.
Yeah. I mean, the closest I've ever heard is, you know, handprints on windows, things like that, and it's small enough to be a child. To be honest with you, I haven't seen a lot of scuff marks and footprints and like that sort of residual type of evidence that's left behind. I mean, I've seen some things that have been moved. I've videotaped things moving that shouldn't be, that we've tested, and there's no apparent reason for it. But you know, that kind of thing, it's like, you know, I haven't seen "kill me" written in a mirror or anything like that, and I would be dubious of that kind of thing anyway. Again, and until it was proven to me and I watched it manifest with my own eyes. So.
Right.
All right. You want to hit another blooper or go on to the questions?
A quick bloop, and
the next one is from Joseph Frezer anyway, so let's torture him a little bit. And make him
he wanted a blooper, so we'll lead in with a blooper.
Okay.
EVP sessions, not everything goes according to plan sometimes, and you get a lot of outside interference. It can come from just about anything. Here's an example of that.
We did not come here to ask you to leave or to tell you to leave. Is your intention to scare these children in any way? I can't take much more of that dog. There are any spirits with us tonight here? Could you make the dog stop barking, please? Thank you.
The power
my
of
favorite.
Alpo
Compels you. And then, Joe, there's your blooper. Here's your question. What was one of the most frightening pieces of evidence you've caught on audio or video? I'll give you a quick, right to the point answer on that. I don't believe I've caught anything on video or audio that was frightening. You know,
Really?
Shocking, stunning, surprising, but I've never got, I'm going to murder you and kill them or, anything like that. I've got some things that over the years are mind-blowing, but nothing I would ever call frightening or horrible or, or I have to go to a homeowner and say, you're in danger or your children are in danger. Maybe it's because of the approach to take it one step further, where if I was in there provoking and taking an aggressive posture, I might receive one back, which is understandable. But, the short answer to that is, I've never gotten anything that just drove me out of a place or didn't want to come back or told somebody they have to sell their house or anything like that. The banging of the doors at the church. I would put that, that's a good one. I would put that in the category of like just absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Because immediately we went in to see what the noise was. It wasn't like, nope, or anything like that. So that goes in that category. But hey, maybe it'll happen next week. I don't know. I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch, but I've never encountered anything. And I've had a vacuum cleaner thrown at me. It's a long story and it's all on video. But I didn't even realize it at the time. I thought it was just a board that fell or something. When I looked at the video, I was like, holy shit. Somebody doesn't. One of my fans, somebody didn't like me.
And Ken will debut that video on our show next week.
I will. I will get it for everybody. It's pretty cool.
All right. Aaron, how about you?
I don't, as you know, investigate. I also haven't had anything in the few things I've done that were scary. I was like George at the farm over Halloween, like a giddy school girl, because, I got to see the doors open and I saw a full apparition in the yard and I had breezes and I had, things that for me were shocking just because they'd never happened before.
Right.
So at first your brain's like, wait a minute. Cause as a sensitive, most everything's going on up here. But so to have it play out is a little shocking at first, but then you're like, oh, that's awesome. When's the next one? So I've also not had anything scary happen. My experience is limited and most of them are at the farmhouse. So, I mean, I take that for what it's worth, I guess. Some people are like, isn't it terrifying? And for me, it's intention.
Yeah.
I'm there to be a student. So all the stuff I got to see, it was more like, hey, this is the stuff we can do, so nothing scary for me.
This is our Unplugged show tonight. Ask whatever questions that you guys would like in the chat for myself, Ken DeCosta, and Aaron Bush. And, you guys have been fantastic throwing those questions out there. So keep it coming. We got plenty of time to get to those questions. Same thing. I said it earlier, how I get excited when I have these experiences, such as the shadow creeper. That's just amazing to me. There was a residential case that I'd done once where I felt something grabbed my ankle, because in Florida you're wearing shorts and shoes with no socks usually, and it felt like, if anybody knows where palm fronds are, they're palm trees that are dried out, and that's what the feeling was that grabbed my leg, and I started jumping up and down like I'd won the lottery. It was exciting to me. But in answer to that question, The only thing ever was a residential case. Some of you who've been longtime Dead Air listeners know about the case with Jennifer and the homeowner. And the scariest thing I ever caught as an EVP was a Class A of Hell is a Terrible Place. And Ken's heard that many times before also. And that's the only one that really kind of set me back and said, wow, that's terrifying to hear. But most of the time you catch an EVP, you're just glad after listening for 6 hours to dead air, and no pun intended, that you catch something like that.
Yeah. That's something you got to be careful of, because your anticipation and the desire to catch something, there have been more false positives
Absolutely
with that type of mindset than there is anything else. So it's
Yeah.
easier said than done. But
I gotta,
this is
have
why
you,
we
Ken?
get nerdy with sound programs and things.
Yeah, but let me ask you something, Ken, because I know that your years in this field absolutely trump mine twice, maybe three times over. But in not one case in all the years did I ever put down an EVP of a growl, because too many times our stomachs do that during an investigation, and I just simply couldn't accept that, especially listening to it 6 hours, 12 hours later and going through, unless you had it simulcasted with another piece of audio or a video camera. Then if they're both hearing the growl, chances are it's somebody's stomach. But I've never.
Right.
Have you ever listed a growl as one of your EVPs?
No.
Yeah.
I honestly have not. I might have one in the archives, but it's nothing that I would present as any type of proof to anything. And I would never present it to somebody. Listen, we've had to do what we call the cleanup on aisle 6, where people have come in and said they had a group there previous to us, recorded a growl. They were given a recording. We put our recorder on the floor, repeated the whole thing, and their goddamn furnace kicked on. And because of that, scared the heck out of them and their kids and everything like that. So I don't have many problems in the paranormal, but that's, with other people. But, yeah, I get a problem with that when you do that, because you're looking for something. It's about you, not about them. I caught some good evidence. Oh my God, we got a demonic case. Aren't we badasses? It's just kind of like, are we really supposed to be badasses doing this, or are we supposed to bring some type of closure and calm to people? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want to pontificate about it, but I'm not a big one on and say, oh, I can say, well, that's not supposed to be there. But that's something different than saying, aha, eureka, we have proof of what? A guttural sound? It's people burp and fart all the time on cases, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a fact of life.
They do.
Melissa Blackman has the next question, Ken. I think it mostly pertains to you and your knowledge of the history, but this is what Cody and Satori do. Didn't the Fox sisters do the same thing, but 80 years ago?
Yep, 1848 in Hyattville, New York. Kate Fox, and I forget her other sister's name, but there was a series of raps that they presented to everybody as a beggar who was trying to send them messages, and they become nationwide sensations. They played the big time. They played Broadway. They played a lot of these larger venues around the country, until it got to the point where one of them dimed the other one out and said it was something about a double jointed toe or something.
See,
that. Yeah.
And I was saying, popping your hip or something like that, but yeah.
Right. So, and then later on recanted that, saying that, I was just mad at the other siblings, but they were really doing it, So that's kind of up in the air. But as far as being documented, Melissa, that was like the first to, on a large scale, do that. And now in the spiritualist movement of the 1800s, those type of things were purported to happen a lot at seances and things of that nature. That have obviously we don't have a record other than an oral history of them. But it is supposed to be the idea of raps and knocks and bangs that we've heard about, and this is something where we experience with these two young people that is right there on display for everyone. I can't speak to so much what happened in the 1800s because back then with spirit photography and all, there was a lot of misleading things going on. There was a lot of subterfuge going on back then with plates in front of plates and how they got the spirit photographs and, Mary Lincoln with Abe standing over his shoulder. Seances in dark rooms where an assistant would like float trumpets through the room and stuff like that. So, you know what? There was a lot of deception going back then too.
But isn't it funny though, Ken, is that knock communication has in one way, shape, or form still sustained over these many decades. But again, the way that social media and lack of patience is today, it's shaving a haircut, we got 2 knocks back. Okay, run the recorder. Well, why not stay with it? The knocking seems to be working. Why not stay with it? Let's try it further, since this seems to be, although a primitive way of communicating, it's effective, but it's not as exciting as let me get that voice.
Right. And we still ask for it, but it's out of a list of options. If you can speak to us, we can hear you, I promise. But if you can move something or you can knock on something or make a sound, whatever you're capable of doing as a means of communication. So those options there, check one of those boxes off. So we're certainly not above asking for noises. The only caveat that we have is to let them know we're not asking you for a performance here. We're just trying to think of ways that are, within your realm of willingness and capability as far as communicating with us. Yeah. And sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't.
All right. Let's hit it with the next question here. Ken, this is specifically for you.
The passions. All of sports, especially baseball. I was a minor league player for a year, played in college, coached, everything like that. Coached like 5 kids who got drafted by professional baseball. So that's always been my thing. Golf, as Erin knows. Beyond that, love writing nonfiction, love doing biographies, love doing those stories like on Extremely Strange that I write a script for after researching. Absolutely love it. Love to cook. And I'm not talking about grilled cheese. I'm talking about actual meals and things like that.
Yeah.
Love movies, love art. Just like being creative because, some of us have that gene in us where we just want to express ourselves in different ways. So,
yeah.
And I like doing this show.
That's his passion.
That's my real passion.
From Android Paranormal. What is the location you each want to investigate that you have not yet? No limitations. I already know George's answer. The Conjuring House. I have other locations too in mind.
Yeah.
This one, I'm owed this location. But Erin, why don't you go first, ladies first? Location you'd love to investigate, no limitations. What would it be?
No limitations, man. And this is going to be super macabre, but I've had a fascination, and I know you can investigate, but he said no limitations, so here we go. I would love to be able to spend a day at Auschwitz, oddly.
No, I understand. We got a chance to visit one of the concentration camps when I was stationed overseas in Germany. I was an investigator then, but I can tell you, you probably would not be able to make it through.
No, and I know that as an empath now, I would never be able to. I wasn't able to go over there even when I was in Germany. I think for me, it's more not even to investigate, but to be able to go there to confirm that they aren't stuck there, right? Like that they're that there's nobody there. That would be my hope, right? I'm sure that's not the case, but that would be my hope.
That's the hard part. What if it's not the case?
Right.
That
I
I
can
don't.
never do it. No way.
That's one of those areas that's just very, very sensitive. Mr. DaCosta, location.
Greyfriars Cemetery, Scotland.
Wow. Yeah, I guess if no limitations, then I guess the whole world. There's so many different places that you can go to. In that case, I'll go to Japan. I'd love to go to Japan. The Suicide Forest would be an amazing place to investigate. But outside of the realm of just the paranormal, I would love to get to a location such as Devil's Tower, one of these places that deals with ufology. I've had my run-ins with the UFO community, in my opinion, saying all you guys do when you go to your conferences is regurgitate other people's experiences, testimonials, etc. And nobody is really an active investigator, or if they are, they're certainly not appearing at these events. It's always somebody that is still talking about events from the 1960s. Well, you know what? There's a lot going on right now. If you're out there and going to a hot spot, there's a chance that you will be able to produce more evidence than an amateur that's putting it on their cell phone. So, I would love to be part of that and have a chance to go out and investigate, be an investigator in the UFO community also.
There you have it.
Same.
There you have it.
Can we get another blooper in before we continue?
Sure, we can get another blooper in. Always let me look at these now. Let me look at these. Oh, attacked by a bat on an investigation. I hate bats because they're annoying, and this is why.
Why are these guys ducking? It's not like it's going to get in their hair.
The infrared was driving that thing crazy. Kept dive bombing the camera, and that was in a church, the bottom of a church. So they had bats in their belfry. See what I did there?
Well done. I have a bat story. Short.
Yeah, go ahead.
We were in Savannah. We were at the Davenport Museum, and we were at an event. So Andrew and I think Cindy Kaza was the other celebrity there that night with us. And we're in the basement of the Davenport Museum, and it's an old house, several stories. And the docents were just giving us kind of the rundown, safety, the whole 9 yards. And they started mentioning about bats. And sure as shit, not 5 seconds later, here comes this bat. So there's probably like 40 people in this room. I've never seen people panic like that, right? And so I'm just sitting there watching this thing, and I'm fine. But I start zeroing in on Cindy Kaza because she's sitting on the floor, and she has very subtly pulled up her camera, and she's just chuckling because these people are losing their minds. So somewhere out there is a video of the entire group of 40 people freaking out over one very small bat.
Yeah. Same thing happened at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and there was a tour group there. Had to be 15 people in our group, and they were losing their minds, especially the women. Like if you stand still, that's your best bet.
Right.
Unbelievable. Okay, we got a question from Ashley for you, Aaron. Have you ever been able to see spirits visually, and have you always had your abilities to tap in, or have they strengthened over the years?
Good question. I'm learning now. I think I've always had them, but I didn't really come into them till I was 40. So that was almost 4 years ago now. I could not see anything at all at first. I'm much more you just claircognizance, which are like downloads of information, or the clairsentience, where you just feel stuff. But I'm able to see some now. But what's weird is I like if I'm watching a live investigation somewhere, that's where I see them. But if I'm at a location, I don't see them. So I don't know what.
You even tried some psychometry when we were at the old jail. Was that your
Yeah, that
first
was the
time?
first. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
But they
amazing.
morph, I think for a lot of us, you open up with a couple of them, but the more, especially if you're in the paranormal field, surrounded with the people you're surrounded with, they just tend to kind of morph and change. So I think that's why I say I'm still learning mine, because I don't think I've figured them all out yet. And they keep, the more time you spend in Andrea's field, the bigger they seem to get. So I've probably always had them, but I didn't really notice that until I was in my 40s. So
I ask you a question. How do you feel about people who say they're clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairdanes, into psychometry,
Claire de Lune.
ship?
Claire de Lune.
I mean, this one-stop sort of gift. Is that conceivable? I guess it's conceivable. But there are people who just, and I'm an empath, and I know I'm leaving out like 5 or 6 other things.
And the ones that say they're 100% accurate.
Right. And we're not taking shots at anybody because, like I said, I believe it's conceivable, but I hear or read so many people introduce themselves in their resume as having every ability that we're possibly aware of. They can astral project, they can, do all of these things. I mean,
I oddly fall somewhat into that category, but I typically, I know what my 2 strongest senses are. And I like to say I'm a baby in all of the others. I mean, my strongest are the claircognizance and the clairsentience. Do I hear things sometimes? Yes. Do I see things sometimes? Yes. I also get the unfortunate side effect of being on location if someone's been, stabbed, shot. I get to feel that. So I think they call that clairsomatic. But I don't, psychometry is not something I resonate. I don't do tarot. I don't do any of that stuff. But I think the more you, and especially if you're a student, which I would like to say that I am, the more you're learning about what your energy can do, I think those abilities can open up more, so you have more access to those different clairs in your
I know I left out remote viewing and automatic writing there as well.
Well, we're going to get to that here when we questions also, but let's rapid fire because we've still got 4 more in there, and I want to make sure we get them in. If there's any time remaining, if any other questions pop up, also quick reminder: the guys that are watching, again, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, the thumbs up. I see 5 clicks so far on a thumbs up. I want to see some more of those, and also hit on the reminder bell for all the upcoming content on Dead Air Full Spectrum. So, Dead Air Unplugged. So here we go. Ken, you said you knew who was this Facebook user?
I think it's the bald ones. Well, previously it was Natasha from. Okay, so this may be one of the bald ones, not Alec or Stephen, but
I'll tell you.
Anything to expect for investigation. The Conjuring House next weekend. Example, can we bring your own gear? Absolutely. We are going to start with a presentation, then a complete tour of the property, and then we're going to feed you dinner, a home-cooked meal, and then you got 13 hours of investigation ahead. I encourage you to bring your own gear. Why not? And if you have bought tickets through our website, then all of the house rules and all the itinerary is on that particular page. So I think it should answer most of those questions, but just bring an open mind.
I think if I would ever get a chance to go there, I think I would maybe just bring a recorder because right now, many times I've done investigations, as much evidence is collected. There's nothing that's more satisfying than that personal experience. I don't care that I can present it to anybody else. Just be able to say, wow, I saw this, or I felt this, or I heard this.
Yeah.
It's all for me now. It's all for me.
Yes.
Yes.
As long as you're honest with yourself, George, you just made the greatest point that it's one I keep telling people. At this point, I gave up a long time ago. Scientific method. The scientific method doesn't fit into what we do because it's a volatile landscape.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with people, they're a tempest in a teapot. They're emotional. We're happy. We're sad. We're okay. All of those things, if we carry those characteristics onto the next life, I don't feel like talking to you today. Today's not the day. Don't bother me.
It's
Come
fluidic.
back next week. It's like, okay, I'm more conciliatory now.
Yeah.
So scientific method, you can take aspects of it, but and that's a great point that you just made. If you have an experience, don't feel like I have to prove this to the world. We're so wrapped up in that thing. Just have your experience, apply it to your own life, be the best version of yourself because of that experience, whatever that means to you. If it's life changing, I've had them, you've had them, Erin's had them. You had experiences that alters the way you think, hopefully in a positive way.
That I will take with me to my grave. Postcards for the next, for the other side. This is
Sure
what it's all about. Dolly Belfiore, again, have you guys experimented? This is more so for Ken, with playing different hertz frequencies before, during a hunt to attract spirits? My answer is absolutely not. Ken, you?
I mean, we've used white noise, we've used ion chargers because we experimented with them, because it's the thing that people have said anecdotally that it ramps up activity. I don't think there's any empirical data on it. The thing we try to do is calibrate our meters, because a K2 meter or any EMF meter is set at a certain range because what they're used for is detect leaks in electricity. And without going too crazy on my explanation, 45 kilohertz is the North American standard, and that's what it meets. So if you're looking for a haunted microwave or refrigerator, then by all means use those meters. I think in Europe it's 65. But what you need to do is calibrate those things so you can eliminate the 45 that you're going to get in any household with all the appliances there. Then above and beyond that, then you might have something that introduced itself to the atmosphere. But we don't play around with it too much. We just sort of retrofit it, reverse engineer it, and use what we have our hands on, hopefully in the right way.
Yeah. Or do what the rest of us do, which is wait for the hair to stand up on our arms.
It's just as valid, dude.
Wait for the funhouse feeling to kick in, right?
It's just as valid.
Next question. Any opinions on this? Astral projection.
Erin, I think that may be up more your line there.
It's not something I know how to do. It's not something I've ever tried to do. I have been taken somewhere by someone who knows how to do it very well that we both know, Andrea. So I've had an experience, but it's not something I have an ability to do, right? Like, I think sometimes you align energetically with people so you can kind of have the same sort of experience. But could I sit in my bed right now and set a goal to end up somewhere else? No clue where to start. Do I think it's possible? Sure. Do I think people do it often? Absolutely. Do I think I had some pretty cool experiences in the 2 times she's done it for me or with unknowingly? Yeah, it was pretty neat. So I do think it's doable. Yeah.
For a time on Dead Air, there was, again, a wonderful psychic medium, Nancy Matz, who tutored me on remote viewing. And if you want to categorize remote viewing as part of astral projection, that was amazing. I mean, there were times where
that's fair.
Yeah. And I would speak to people and describe the interior of their house, where their haunting was happening, where there was a haunted item, things that they were trying to find. And, it's in the closet under the 2 pillows where the jeans were. And they're like, how the frig do you know this? I don't.
Right.
How does this happen?
Right.
So, I think it is a real thing. I think it is a honed skill. It's a gift. Is it something? It's like when people say, well, you're psychic. I don't know. There are things that I can know. I don't know why. There are things, and then sometimes I don't have a clue. There's not enough of a consistency there to say that. Were that the case, maybe I title it differently. But just once in a while, I have an inkling. That's basically the way of putting it.
For me, it's a learned thing because, like out of body experiences, the brain undergoes a lot of weird synapse,
right?
Sort of, manipulations. So meditation can be put in that category because essentially you're trying to put yourself into a beta state, right?
Yeah.
And for some people, it's different. It would be almost impossible for me because my head never stops. Like I'm thinking about the 5 things ahead of me, and I can't shut it off. To some people who are able to do something like that and just absolutely zone in to put yourself in that type of beta state where the consciousness leaves the body, whatever you want to call it, the soul, the spirit. For some people, it might be a lot easier, but I could be on a deserted island with nothing around me, and I'd probably still be thinking about, that new microphone I want to get or something. It just wouldn't.
Quantum entanglement at that point too, right? Like I've had one experience. I was doing energy work on the parents, and I was looking at, and all of a sudden I'm standing at the farm. I'd never been to the farm, and I'm looking, and where the barn should be, there's no barn.
Right.
But I feel like because of my energy, and I think it's in quantum entanglement kind of thing. So totally doable.
I'm too. Oh, look, squirrel.
This is again, this is a topic that could probably extend through an entire show because there's so much to it.
I'd love to get into it.
When we dream, is dreaming an astral, multi-dimensional projection also? I know for myself, some of the places that I go to in my dreams, the details are so absolutely intricate that I'm like, this is not just something I'm fantasizing. How could I come up with this in my brain? But it does. Locations that I've never been to that have, so much detail. I don't know. Maybe that is something, and maybe it doesn't exist in this dimension, but somewhere else.
Right.
Or is it you in another dimension having an experience you're having to catch?
Or another life.
While you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Or
previous
life.
life.
That's the thing. There's so many rabbit holes to go down with that.
I know. Thanks for the question late in the show. This one, Ken, you want to touch upon, because I don't know if I want to touch upon it.
Gianmarco Andrea, Gene, hi, hello, Paisan. Feeling about communication through table tipping. I'd have to see it under certain circumstances because the ideomotor effect always comes into play. And if someone is trying to kind of fake it till they make it, the way they do that is move the table toward me. And then subconsciously, the person opposite them says, well, this isn't right. So subconsciously, they want to bring it back to them and make it level. The same thing as side to side, where the subconscious takes over. And it's like, whoa, it's tipping this way. Subconsciously, I want to, correct that. So it's fascinating experiment just in the subconscious. But, there are just too many rules. Like you can't put your entire hand on the table. You can't reach toward the middle. You can only have your fingers on the end. There's too many rules to me to have like some real value. And I know, listen, I've seen the thing, the table's, flying up off the ground. If the table levitates off the ground, then come get me. But I will never say never to anything. But a lot of the times that I've seen it, I understand how someone who was going to kind of fake it can do it. And I'm sure in saying that, we're going to get all sorts of emails, send them to George.
Yeah,
He'll handle it.
I think it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, it's like the Ouija board thing.
And
You
a
know, when
dowsing rods. I'm sorry, I even get upset at that.
right. You say it's just cardboard. It's all about the intent of the person.
Yeah.
And then somebody will always say, "Oh yes, but I had an experience with a week." Well, yeah, I mean, if you did, again, I just go back to what George was talking about. It's your own personal experience.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, so I'm not about to take it apart because I
Right.
don't think that way. But anyway, that's Aaron. I listen. That's that to me. Sometimes there are too many rules involved. If this is a spirit manipulating this, I should be able to put my elbows, my head. As long as I'm projecting my energy on this object, what difference does it make? We're using our feet.
Yeah, I've never tried it. I don't know. I don't know much about it. I don't think I've ever even seen it really done, except maybe once. So I don't even know enough about it to even have an opinion on it. I'd rather
simply because of
I'd have to see it.
muscle movement, the pulses of blood going through your body, whether it's the dowsing rod, whether it's a tipping table, whether it's a pendulum. And I don't call BS in the sense that people are legitimately trying to pull a wool over our eyes, but it's not an effective tool.
Right.
No more than the flashlight sessions are. It's not an effective tool. And you want to go for what is effective and what could be validated, and none of these could. It's a fun party trick. Oh wow, interesting, but you want to impress me? Put two dowsing rods in a couple of Coke bottles, water bottles, whatever, because the water could be a nice little conduit. And if the friggin' things move, then I'll be impressed.
Yeah.
But you're holding it in your hand, and your hands are moving, pulsing, changing. I can't go with it. I'm sorry.
And I think it bears saying that no one here is suggesting that any method or approach that we use, that's the way to go.
Right.
We're better than that. We have all the, do what I do. No, I find your own path in this. So I'm not saying that table tipping cannot be legitimate. A Ouija board cannot be legitimate. Any of these things cannot be legitimate. Unfortunately, humans are humans. So it's like a psychic. You read about a psychic who took an old lady for $500,000, and then you sit down with somebody who legitimately has a gift, and you're like blown away. So we're never going to say it doesn't exist. I'm just saying it just seems to be too many rules involved in it.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, we can squeeze one more question in before the end of the show, and that is, have you guys ever brought home an attachment or know of anyone who has? I think we all have.
I don't know. Nothing that's been prevalent that I can say, oh my, there's things going on here. I know of people who claim they have, and have a story to go along with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's never been proven to me. Like, I've never had an experience. I mean, if I did, George, you'd be the first to know. Like, there's some weird shit going on in my house right now,
Yeah.
But I don't have a story like that. And if someone has, it's been perfectly benign and benevolent at this point, So.
Yep. Well, those who've been listening to Dead Air for a long time know that I created my own demons, so to speak, with Curse City, and still will get those attacks from time to time. Yes, I believe it's legitimately possible, and it does happen. Aaron?
Right.
Yeah, I believe it's possible, but I've not had. I mean, I've had, I've gone to a place and I've had a visitor when I got home to just be like, "Hey, we're keeping an eye on you," but that's about it. No, nothing attachment at all.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Gene.
Yeah.
Great question. Thank you for the question.
And great bunch of questions tonight, guys. And, again, from time to time, Ken and I sit there and go, yeah, we do a lot of interviews. We have a lot of wonderful people that come on the show. But, we get a chance once in a while to just chit chat with you guys. And it makes a hell of a difference. We get to know you guys
I
more.
love it.
you get to know us more. And Aaron, we can't thank you enough for taking the time and joining us tonight. And if we do game show next week, if the kids are back and not
we'll see you next week.
We're gonna have you back again. As you'll be the Richard Dawson of next week's show. You'll be
George, why don't you tell them a little bit about, maybe there's some new viewers, what this game show thing we're jabbering about is all about.
I have no idea. We're making this up as we go along. We're just coming up with it. No, it really, it's Cody and Satori and Ken and I, and these questions are round table for us, and they're candid. A lot of these questions also. Some of them pertain to paranormal, some of them not. But it's a lot of fun either way, and we get through more story time with everybody. I can tell you these 2 hours flew by because the questions were so excellent, and we enjoy it. We enjoy this field. We enjoy the candidness of talking with you guys, and we're looking forward to doing it again.
If you want us to do this again once in a while, let us know.
Yeah. Again, if you're watching it post live, anything you put below the video in the comments section, we'd love to hear back from you on that feedback. So, but I want to thank you guys again for joining us as always. And we will see you back this time next week. Don't forget to check out all of the amazing shows on the Ditto Full Spectrum channel. Make sure you check us out. We'll be back hopefully with KGRA next week too.
Yeah.
All right. All right. You guys have a great night. Thanks so much for joining. You take care. Bye-bye.